Okay, Oak Rovers, this is going to be a video that's going to help you with adding integers. And whenever I add integers, I always ask the question, do the numbers I'm adding together work together or against each other? Some examples of where numbers work together are like positive 14 plus positive 8, or negative 21 plus negative 13. When the numbers work together, all I do is add up the numbers and I keep the sign of the numbers. So for this one, what I would do is we've been doing 14 plus 8 since kindergarten. So all I do is I just add 14 plus 8 and I get 22. And since both 14 and 8 are positive, my answer is going to be a positive 22. The other example I have here, the numbers also work together. They're both negative. I say they work together if the signs are the same. When I have numbers that are working together, I just add them up and keep the sign the same. So in this one, what I would do is I'd add 21 plus 13. And for this one, I'm going to get 34. And since both numbers are negative and they're working together, my answer is going to be negative 34. Okay? So that would be one case when the numbers work together. The other case that I have is when they work against each other. So remember the first question I asked, do they work together or against each other? So the first case, both sets of numbers work together. Now the next case I'm going to do, they work against each other. And the examples I've written down here are 15 plus negative 23 and 29 plus negative 16. Okay? When they work against each other, the first question I ask is, who wins the battle? Who wins the battle? Now, the way I decide who wins the battle is by whichever number is greater. If it's positive, the positive wins the battle. If it's negative, the negative wins the battle. So if you look at this first one, the negative 23, the 23 is bigger than 15, and since the 23 is negative, the negative is going to win the battle. That's going to give you my sign for the answer. So I know this problem is going to have an answer that's going to be negative. My other one, I look at the two numbers and I have 29 and negative 16. Well, the 29 is bigger than 16 and that's positive, so in this case my answer is going to be positive. Now, after I find out who wins the battle, and I'm going to write down that gives the sign, what I do is I ask by how much. By how much. And the way I figure out how much it wins by is I subtract. So I'm just going to subtract the numbers. So when I say by how much, I just subtract the numbers, and that's going to give me my number. So the first one, 23 is bigger. I always take the bigger one and subtract the smaller one. 23 minus 15. Well, I can't take 5 away from 3, so I have to borrow from that 20. I have to borrow 10 from the 20, and that's going to be left with 10. The 10 that I borrowed is now going to be 13. So 13 minus 5 is 8, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So the answer for the first one is just going to be negative 8. Okay? The next one, the positive won the battle, and by how much? I'm just going to subtract to find out how much it's going to win by. So for that one, I'm just going to go 29 minus 16. 6 from 9 is 3. 1 from 2 is 1. So my answer for that one is just going to be positive 13. And that's how I add integers. I'm going to give one more example to see if we can figure this one out too, because in both of those cases I did the addition or the positive number first. Let's say I have something like negative 67 plus 58. Okay? So I'd ask myself, who wins the battle? And in this case, the negative number is bigger, so my answer is going to be negative. The negative won the battle. And by how much? I just subtract. 67 minus 58. 67 minus 58, and it's really helpful if you write these down. If you're not writing down the subtraction problem, sometimes you don't see that you really have to borrow for that problem. So 67 minus 58, I can't take 8 away from 7, so I borrow from the 6. That becomes a 5. 17. 17 minus 8 is 9. 5 minus 5 is 0. So my answer for that one is negative 9. And that's how you are going to add integers. I'm also going to have a video for you on how to subtract integers, but I'm actually not going to subtract them, I'm just going to change them to addition problems. So I'm going to have you work on this one right now, work on the addition side, and then you can watch the video on subtracting integers in a second.